Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous video, before we dive into the 6 unique skills, I wanted to talk about the number one issue that I come across in my work as a mentor for other coaches and therapists and yoga teachers. And this is something that really, it can either completely keep you stuck and prevent you from even starting your space holding journey, even if you are so well equipped with the gifts and the knowledge and the interest and the willingness to do it. Or it can really hinder your ability to practice compassion focused, safe, ethical space holding. And I will explain how and why that works now. So, one of the biggest issues that I see, or the main thing that I see whenever it happens with the students that I welcome into a lot of, we run a compassion focused coaching certification. So, it's a 150-hour certification, and it's for new coaches as well as experienced coaches and therapists to develop, compassion focused skills and become trauma informed. And so when I am teaching in that course, obviously we get in both newbies as well as experienced practitioners, and I see this thing come up all the time. It happens all the time. And when I work with in my business consulting work, it's the same thing. Like I'm working with clients or I'm working with my mentees, and there's this block that just stops them all the time. And you're probably wondering, what is it? What is it? What is it? Now, this block is having what we call a fixer mindset. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, even as I say that, does anything come up for you? Right? Having a fixer mindset, which is this belief that you hold that in order to do your job, in order to hold space for other people and be a good coach or a good therapist or a good kinesiologist or space holder, that you must fix your client. It's your job to take away their pain. It's your job to make sure that they are no longer broken, right? And this can be really, really dangerous for two different reasons, two really big reasons. And let's imagine that there is a scale that exists, and there's one end of the scale and there's the other end of the scale. Now, on this end of the scale, if I have a fixer mindset, it is one of the core things that leads to imposter syndrome and that prevents me from even starting my journey in the first place, right? A lot of the time, especially if you were the peacekeeper of your family, if you were the mediator of your family, if you grew up in a household that had, a lot of unpredictability, maybe caregivers that had big explosive emotions, if there was kind of chaos around you, then it's, or if you had like younger siblings that you needed to take care of, which is something I see a lot as well, you would have developed this like, I need to fix things. I need to make sure that things are okay so that chaos doesn't ensue. I need to make sure that everybody is happy so that no one is sad or no one is angry or that we don't have to be in fear. It is my responsibility to make this okay, to make this better. Now, what we can see outside of the space holding world, so in your everyday life, this may show up for you as being someone who has perfectionistic tendencies, really, really high expectations of yourself, or an assumed high expectation that you think other people assume of you, and or people-pleasing tendencies. So you're constantly scanning other people for their emotional state and trying to kind of put out fires before they happen. You're pleasing and appeasing others in order to keep the peace and maintain your sense of attachment. And this can show up in your work. So maybe you have this desire, right? If you are the peacekeeper, if you're a highly sensitive woman like I am, if you're deeply empathic, if you are someone who has experienced trauma, then it's really natural and really normal that you may have a desire as you grow up that you want to be of service to others. It might be innately within you to actually be someone who is nurturing and who wants to support others through their own transformation. We call this the wounded healer, right? Someone who's been through something themselves, they heal their own stuff, and then they want to be able to be of service to others, which is a beautiful, wonderful thing. But if you have these perfectionistic or people-pleasing type tendencies and you believe it's your job, you get that inner child response of like, I need to fix this, I need to make sure they're okay, it's my responsibility to take away their pain, then your expectations of yourself become completely unreasonable, and so far-fetched that oftentimes it ends up in paralysis. Like it ends up in this kind of procrastination paralysis where you just keep, putting something off, or like when my website's done, when I, get the right Canva template, when I do this, when I do that, when I just speak to this person, when I just do this one thing, then I'll be ready, then I'll be ready. And you're never actually ready, and you never put yourself out there, and you never kind of just give it a go because your beliefs of having to like be perfect, be able to like take away this person's pain is so strong. The other thing that can show up here is that you think, who am I? Who am I to hold space for somebody else when I still have problems myself, right? So, this comparison, imposter syndrome can really show up when we have this fixer mindset of like, if I need to fix people, then that equals me being totally healed myself. If I have to fix people, then that means I must be really, really good at what I do. And look at all these other people that are better than me. And if they're all better than me, then it must mean I'm not ready. If I have to fix people, then it means every session I have with someone, there must be these amazing big breakthrough moments where they walk away like super healed. None of that is true. None of that is true, right? It is about being able, like, you can see how being stuck in this, like, perfectionistic, people-pleasing mindset can just stop you from sharing your gifts with the world. And if you are like so many coaches and practitioners that I work with, you have the gift innately within you. Like, you know in your heart that this is what you are here to do. You know in your heart that this is your work. This is what lights you up. All you want to do is to be able to support others and be of service. And then this massive belief blocks you. Maybe you've never even explored it in this way. Maybe you just know you have perfectionistic tendencies, but I would invite you to go deeper than that. Like, how does that show up? And is it associated with this unreasonable expectation that in order to be a good coach, you need to be able to fix people's pain, right? And I'm going to explain to you why this is not the right way in a second. So that's the one end of the scale that we just spoke about. On the other end of the scale, all the way over here, imagine if you still have that mindset, but you are actively working with clients, and the mindset is so strong that you actually genuinely believe that is your job, is to give advice and to fix people's problems. What could happen in that situation? How could that really cause problems within the client and coach relationship? So think about someone coming in as the coach who has this mindset. I'm going to fix you. I'm going to give you advice. I know what's best. Trust me because I'm the one who can tell you. I know your life better than you, and it's my job to take away your pain. Right? What's going to happen there? Few things will happen. Number one is if we are working with a client who has a history of trauma, meaning that they may have feelings of disempowerment and disconnection already, we are not safely holding space and we are not acting in a trauma-informed manner if we come in trying to solve their problems for them and giving them advice. Why? Because it can create it can re-establish a trauma type bond between the client and the coach if that is something that has existed, if there's been attachment trauma for the client in the past. Secondly, it can cause and perpetuate indecisiveness in your client. So if your client is someone who's already indecisive and disconnected from themselves, and then you come in and tell them what to do, you're not giving them that corrective emotional experience where they're able to make decisions for themselves, where they're learning how to trust themselves, where they're learning how to listen to their own innate knowing and intuition. You're actually taking that away from them, and then they're going to become more and more dependent on you to tell them what to do, which is really, really dangerous, right? Now, the third thing that can happen is that say you have a client who, once again, has a history of trauma, because most people do, and they have people-pleasing tendencies. If your energy is quite strong and you come in really direct as someone who wants to fix all their problems, Is there like, do you think that they're going to say no if they disagree, if they have people-pleasing tendencies? It's highly unlikely. So we're once again perpetuating a coping mechanism and a behavior that they've developed through their trauma, and our energy might be mimicking someone's from their past that causes them to be like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do that, no worries, no worries. And then once again, we're taking them away from their own inner knowing and their own authentic connection to themselves, meaning that they don't trust themselves and that their evolution and transformation is not unique to them. It is just through your advice, right? Now, what happens for you is a few things as well. Number one is that you stop being curious about them. You just think that you know everything and that you stop like really being empathic and understanding their situation. If we think we have all the answers, then a lot of the time it prevents us from active listening. Active listening is being able to listen with the intention to understand, right? If I am someone who is really stuck in a fixer mindset, then I'm just going to listen to reply because I already know on my, I already know the process. I already know what steps I want to guide them through. So what they say actually doesn't matter. So it prevents me from being that empathic ear that they really, really need. The second thing that can happen, and this is if you have people-pleasing tendencies yourself as a space holder and a fixer mindset, is that you can feel like your client's well-being becomes your responsibility, which really blurs this professional boundary of client and coach. And that can show up in the way that you're overextending yourself for your clients. You're allowing them to message you, at all hours of the day. You feel responsible if something goes wrong in their life. You're kind of over giving. And what happens in that instance is that is essentially what can lead to burnout, and it can cause us to feel completely exhausted and even resentful of our work, which you don't want to happen to you if this is truly your heart's work and your heart's calling, right? The other thing is that we kind of stop evolving as a therapist or as a coach as well. If we kind of come in thinking like we know everything and we're the one who's here to fix it and we can like tell all the answers and give all the advice, then it stops us from developing more as a professional. And I believe that in this work, it is our responsibility to always be developing professionally to be able to broaden our scope more and more and hold space in deeper and safer and more profound ways. And secondly, that we need to always be curious about ourselves as humans because our stuff, our biases, our trauma, our limiting beliefs, our experiences from our personal life, they will naturally kind of come up and show up if we're not actively working on them. And if I have a fixer mindset, then maybe I believe that like I am fixed. And the reality is that we never are. Healing is an ongoing journey. It doesn't have a destination point, right? It constantly evolves as our lives evolve as well. And so, it can really block us from doing our own inner work, our own self-inquiry. So that was one end of the scale that we saw down here, and then the other over here, right? And I see this, like I said earlier, with I would say 80% of the practitioners that I mentor or who come through our coaching program. And it really, yeah, it causes a lot of problems on both ends of the scale. On one end, it's this lack of confidence and this like imposter syndrome and comparison and just never feeling good enough to even try. And on the other end, it becomes unsafe. It becomes unsafe for the client and it also becomes unsafe for the coach. We can become too for lack of a better word, egoic in the work that we do. And that can also be dangerous because it can mean that we stop being curious, we stop thinking about what it means to be trauma informed, and we kind of get carried away. So, over the next six videos, I'm going to teach you some skills wherever you are on this spectrum to kind of overcome them through a very unique compassion focused lens. Now, I am a compassion focused coach, I'm a compassion focused psychotherapist, and one of my, greatest beliefs is that through the work of compassion, through us being compassionate for our clients and ultimately teaching our clients how to hold compassion and be compassionate for themselves, they can become the healer that they need. And also, we can hold a space for them that is truly empathic and that allows them to really feel accepted in the messiness of their human experience, right? Which is what it's all about. Whenever a client of yours shows up for you with like trauma or shame, disempowerment, disconnection, a dysregulated nervous system, any of these things, you know, they're not they're looking for a way to be able to figure out their life, to find that sense of connection and empowerment and safety and authenticity once more. And we're not going to be able to help them if we never try or if we're always telling them what to do, right? To be truly compassionate, compati, which is the root word of compassion, it means to suffer with. It means as a coach that we can actually get on their level, human to human, and be able to hold this space that is really accepting, really non-judgmental, to use really specific micro communication skills and effective questioning, to be able to get them to reflect back on themselves in a way that is truly curious and open so that they can unlock their inner healer. And I will be, like I said, sharing 6 skills that I believe are so important in helping us to achieve this. So I hope you have your pen and paper ready, and we'll dive into them. As a little bit of homework for you between now and then, just have a bit of a reflection as to where you are on that scale. So just really notice, like, what beliefs do you hold as a space holder about your work and about your role in your work? And just see what comes up. If you want to share any of them with me, you absolutely can. And I will, yeah, see you in the next video.